And we are recording.
Morning, everyone. Well, let's get down to it, shall we? First item on the agenda is approval of the, roll call. Members, Kelly Strickland here, Alex Zach.
Here.
Lynn Gerlach. Matt Buchanan.
Here.
Kent Hutchison.
Present.
Beth Lemke.
Present.
Paul Grahl. And Matt Vanden Boomen.
Here.
Excellent. Moving on to item C, approval of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at it? If so, may I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jesse, would you prefer we do hands or we can use the reactions? What's easiest for you to document?
Voice vote is fine.
Okay. Then I'm an aye also.
But if you can, if you could maybe say names for motions, that would be great.
Got it. Okay, I think I heard a Kent on the first and an Alex on the second.
That was Matt Buchanan on the first.
Happy. Don't pay attention to me. All right, and moving on to approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Kent,
Kent.
Matt, second.
all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Grand. And finally, approval of the minutes from the July 22nd meeting. Any comments on those minutes? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
Alex, motion to approve.
Kent, second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nope. Okay. Finally, regular business. Consideration with possible action to select a finalist for the Dance Park Artistic Seating Project. Laura, would you like to walk us through this?
Thank you, everyone, for getting up very early and meeting today for our one item, but it is an important item. So during our last meeting in July, you guys had approved for us to move forward with selecting artistic seating for the Dance Park project. So backtracking a little bit more, we got $15,000 allocated from the Redevelopment Authority to create some sort of art piece within Dance Park. So staff developed the RFP for an artistic seating element because after talking with park staff, wasn't a whole lot of seating within that area. So it is something that is a good addition for the community and for the park. So after we sent out the call, we received 2 submissions back. We have concept A and concept B in the agenda packet. I can bring up images as we discuss all. So they're both very similar to the fact that we were requesting them to utilize some of this driftwood supply that the Parks Department has available, which I think is a great addition to the project. Based on just initial scores that I received, I didn't receive scores from everyone, but I figured, like I always say, scores are just kind of to get the conversation rolling. The decisions really happen at these meetings.
Excuse me, Laura, I just made you a co-host, so you can go ahead and share your screen.
Cool. I will do that so you guys can see the concepts real quick. All right, so in the agenda, here's the RFP that we had sent out kind of with a few examples of different potential uses of driftwood and just different seating in general. And then as far as the location that this is going to be placed within Dance Park, so there's going to be kind of these concentric circles of 100 trees planted, and we're hoping to place either one or two, maybe multiple benches kind of within the center of this tree planting. Scrolling down further, here is the driftwood. This example was given to artists initially, and we also allowed them an opportunity to visit the site and actually see the driftwood. So here are some sketches of concept A. As I've told multiple people, sketches are not the end product. Sketches are really just to get ideas out there. And with something like driftwood, I'd like everyone to keep in mind that it's really quite difficult to sketch out and do kind of something that is very unique. It's a very unique material. So you don't want to sketch out something that it's really contingent on this one piece of, in reality, we might not have that certain shape or size or anything like that. So I hope everyone kind of kept that in mind as they were reviewing these pieces, that driftwood is a very unique material in how it is formed. I give these artists a lot of credit for the sketches that they have created. This is another detail side view of concept A as far as how it will be anchored into the ground, and then also the concrete pad that it will be housed on. It's a unique shape. It kind of mirrors the overall canopy of I think it's a nice tie-in to where it's being placed. And here are some additional sketches of different frame connections. So depending on what the artist would select for those final pieces, it'll really determine how they connect that up. And then moving on to concept B. Here's some example photos of the previous artwork that they've done. Definitely a lot of experience in creating artistic seating already. And then concept B is very similar because we did request that the artist use that driftwood if possible. This artist is proposing either two options. One option would be this singular bench that has a back to it. And it contains, I'm going to mess this up, but shoshugi ban kind of mini table, which is a burning technique that kind of chars the outside of the wood and kind of seals it. So they would have that component along with epoxy resin-filled seating, and then this is represent a resin block with smaller driftwood sticks inside it. So that would just be one bench, but their second proposal is for two benches. It's pretty much the same concept, except there is no back to this one. And they've done two earned pieces and taken out the smaller resin filled. So here you can kind of see what the bench would probably look like as far as being filled with some of that resin. This is an example of those small wood kind of floating, seeming to float within that resin. And then here is that burning technique. And then as far as the budgets go for both artists, they're both within budget. And then here's the previous artwork of concept artist B, showing off a lot of their work with resin of a interesting component of this bench. Does anyone have any questions or comments on any of the pieces?
Would you all rather hear the result of the scores first, or would you rather have the conversation first? Well, I have two questions. One is, from those of you who have more fabrication experience than I do one of these designs feel more substantive to you, or are they both hardy, long-lasting pieces?
I can speak a little to that. Full disclosure, I'm abstaining from this vote because I know both of the artists, and it came clear in the application. So, but I can speak to some structural things. So I believe the first proposal had a little bit more detail in regard to the vision for mounting the pieces. And you can see he was using, or that artist was using, 1/4-inch angle iron to fasten the wood to the slab. The one, and I think that's, we're asking the artist to make the benches out of driftwood, which, can be beautiful, but also we're talking, like a 10-year lifespan probably. And maybe with some maintenance required, but that was in the call. And I think that provides a really unique perspective of our location on a huge body of water. So I think it's a good idea, but I think we need to bear that in mind that we're making these permanent benches with wood, and it's going to be a little bit tricky for the installation. But for the first proposal, they used epoxy anchored threaded rod, which is very common in mounting any type of sculpture, including benches. It's strong. It's what I do. It lasts for a long time. So I didn't see any concerns there. If the artist is from proposal 2 is around to speak to the vision of anchoring those benches, I think that would be helpful because I didn't see a whole lot on that part. I think we would have to open the floor if there is anybody who wants to speak to that. But does that answer your question a little, Kelly? Does anybody else have any insight on that?
Well, I think that answers it. The floor just to have a conversation about it?
No, if we want to hear from the artist, because yeah.
Is the artist here?
I'm here. Good morning.
Did we want to talk a little bit more before
Wait,
we
I'm sorry.
invited Samantha's
Kelly.
thoughts, or would we like to hear from her now?
Kelly, excuse me, you need a motion
Yes.
to open the floor, and then
Right.
remember
But
to
I was
ask for
waiting to
name and
see if the
address.
commissioners wanted to chat first.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rely on people that know, because I'm pretty ignorant about making something like that. So,
But yeah, to your point, Kelly, maybe we should discuss the matrix first, like how people initially felt, like just at first glance about the pieces. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, Laura, do you want to share with us the scores from the matrix?
Based on what I received, once again, you guys vote very closely. Concept B won out by 0.4.
0.4.
So you guys are, they're both really good, solid concepts, I think, considering just the time restraint that's on the project, the material restraint that we've, I guess not restraint, but the material choice that we've chosen. I think they both are really quality pieces, but overall, concept B came out just slightly ahead.
Well, I pose one question to the rest of our group, which is, I don't know if there are strong thoughts about the possibility of having 2 benches versus 1 bench. I mean, really, to some extent, just the finality of it, I think, is important to think about kind of how this space is being used. I do know, it's a park that's frequented by families. And the notion that more than a couple of people could sit together at a time felt attractive to me. But that was really just strictly from a functional perspective, not a design. And then also, to some extent, although I love those burnt pieces, are table services, again, useful in this context, just thinking about how people are using the public space.
Yeah, to that point about the tables, they're going to be used as benches. So we need to just recognize that that's
Think of them as benches.
Yeah, like if there's a little stoop there, people might use it as a table, but are they going to be also usable as a bench? And then from my understanding of that Japanese technique, if it's not sealed properly, if you touch it, you'll get char on you. So I also had a question about if that was going to be covered in epoxy as well. So when we open the floor, that's another question that I would have.
Thoughts and comments before we open this up to Samantha?
I'll just mention that I agree. I think more seating the better. I think both allow for at least 2 benches, it sounds like. So that was good to see. I think they're both solid proposals. I thought the glow in the dark potential for concept B was really just whimsical and fun. So I liked that component.
Is there any reason why we can't do both? Just putting it out there.
That's interesting.
I had thought of that actually, because I was like, wow, knowing that I think both proposals would be complementary, and both artists do happen to know each other. I could see that being as an option. I don't know how that would be decided here necessarily. I guess if we had both artists on when we open the floor, if both artists are agreeable to that, I think that could be an option. Unless I'm wrong. Celestine or Lisa, someone call me out on it, but that could be a potential. Also, Corey from Parks Department is on the call today too. So when it comes to seating needs or kind of what the visitors of the parks are looking for, she might be able to provide some additional insight into that as well.
Corey, do you have any feeling about potentially having 2 different artists and using the 2 different styles of bench?
I think I had really envisioned because the planting is so symmetrical, I guess you could say, I had kind of envisioned the benches. I think preferably to have 2, if possible, from the Parks Department, again, to kind of balance out on each side of the path what that would look like. And so I guess my vision was kind of to have something more, to look more similar, on either side of the path versus having it be unique. But it is an interesting concept, definitely something the Parks Department could be open to if everybody else felt strongly that would be a good direction to go. I did too, because I don't know if there's really been a lot of mention of the concrete slabs that we know they're proposing a more unique slab, which I think is interesting, but I just think it would be worth considering. We talked about getting ADA accessibility to the benches. And so tying in an ADA accessible path, I think could work, would perhaps be more costly to do, later on. So something to consider, but definitely I think the Parks Department is interested too, as far as in concept B with the glowing aspect. I kind of see that as being like the heart of the Century Grove, which I think is unique. And so, yeah, I think 2 benches would be great. I think the Parks Department would be open to having a different bench on either side of the path. So,
Okay. Yeah. I think 2 is definitely would be the best choice, especially at that budget. I think we can expect 2, but just my thoughts.
Would we like to open up now to hear from Samantha if she's here?
Motion to open the floor.
Can I get a second?
Alex, second.
Thank you, Alex. Samantha, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi, Samantha. Can you state your full name and your residence address?
Samantha Tunin, and my address is 2037 Explorers Trail, De Pere.
Were you interested in sharing some thoughts on your proposal?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So could we begin with which one is yours?
Oh, I'm B, the second one with the epoxy.
Okay. Well, maybe a good place to start would be answering the question that was raised about residue coming off of that burnt technique. What's your experience with that?
So what I do is I do seal the wood after I burn it. My hopes were to fill some of those cracks with a different color epoxy, maybe white. I wanted to bring a lot of color into this, representative of the nature around it. So blues, whites, greens a little bit. Some of that glowing would have a little green to it as well, or blue, depending on whatever color works the best. But yes, the burnt technique it is sealed.
And as it's currently proposed, I think to Ken's point, they likely would be sat upon, and so structurally, whether it was your intention or not, would they stand up to that?
Yes, yeah. So that was my idea, is just kind of create a little bit different of a architectural element for seeing something aesthetically pleasing as well. So,
Anyone else?
So let me
Sam, how do you
understand.
feel?
So Samantha, so it would be the bench, possibly 2 benches, and then the addition stumps as like, would that, or is it all? So it sounds like the stumps are potential seating spaces besides the actual benches.
that's correct. So the stumps would actually be fastened to the benches. They'd all be the same seating height. So they can be utilized as seating or table, really doesn't matter.
Thank you.
I think those stumps, as we're calling them, are super cool, and those could potentially be fastened to like a sonotube, which is just a really low profile concrete pillar essentially that goes into the ground. Corey, do you have any feeling if we were able to kind of replicate that idea and potentially place them further out, like throughout the space, throughout just an idea.
yeah, I think that is an interesting idea. Ideally, I think it would be nice for people to kind of get into the Grove as well, and to maybe have that be a reason to do it. We are planning to leave like a 6-foot wide strip of sod between all of the rows of trees. Such that, you know, walking through the grass. And so we probably, as far as maintenance then, would consider, you know, having to mow around, or it might be best to place them like within the mulch versus that 6-foot width of sod. But yeah, it is an interesting idea that I think we would be open to.
It's not proposed right now, but I just think that if we do move forward, that'd be an interesting consideration if the parks were on board to replicate that and just make it even more of a usable space to people. So thanks for that question. Sam, would that be cool with you if that idea was replicated throughout?
Absolutely. That it seems like there's quite a bit of material to be used for that. So yeah, that would be simple.
And I got to just chime in. I really like the idea of that whimsical element to it, you know, possibly the glowing and the additions of colors to it. So I like that.
Thank you.
To be clear, Samantha, the proposal for the defined budget as it is right now is either for a bench with a back and one stump, or a bench without a back and 2 stumps. Within this budget, 2 benches are even possible?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what would the configuration then be? Two benches without backs?
They would be backless, and then have more of that burn stump technique on both ends.
Okay. Any other questions, Samantha?
Sam, yes. So we're talking about probably cutting a big piece of driftwood in half as the actual seat, and then would there be a collate in that piece?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So my thought was to put kind of the glowing aspect in the actual seat.
Okay, in the seat. Okay, then the pillars coming up, holding the seat up, those would be made out of the wood as well?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So I just had another comment to make regarding the burning technique, and just something that came up when we were talking about trying to name the 100-tree planting. We were at first referring to it as a memorial, and some folks felt that kind of conjured up thoughts about something gone and past, and where in this case it's a living memorial, and so perhaps we should call it something else. So we came up with the Century Grove. But what I'm getting at is with the burning technique, just wondering what people's thoughts are about that same kind of conjuring of in the mind of like the ending of things and kind of what we're trying to achieve here. I definitely love the idea of it, bringing in out some different colorful aspects in the wood, but I guess just something I wanted to mention and was wondering if anybody else had any thoughts about that, and if Sam would be open to maybe doing an alternative, if others to kind of not use that technique because of what I've mentioned. So just wondering what people's thoughts are.
My initial reaction is that when I look at the image of the finished product, it doesn't evoke the sense of decay that you might think about a piece that had been burned. It actually looks really elegant, and there's almost a refinement to it. So I don't know that a passerby would even know that burning was the technique that had necessarily been used to kind of fill in the rest of the story that you're talking about. When I just look at the piece itself, it doesn't communicate loss or decay to me. It just looks like wood that's clearly been treated in some way, but I don't know. Do others have thoughts about that?
I agree with you there, Kelly. I see it as like giving it a second life. Really.
Yeah.
I agree too. I didn't see anything about decay or old age or anything in it.
I don't think the general public would even know the technique. So I agree with the elegance of it too.
Yeah. If it was actually named a memorial, then it would association. But since I love the name that you guys came up with, and I think, yeah, I'm in the elegant crew. I think it looks elegant and it doesn't spark like the ideas of death or ending like that. In fact, as Matt had mentioned, you know, fire, especially in a forest, is a symbol of rebirth and regrowth. So yeah, I'm down with that motif.
And black goes with anything you wear.
So we're covered on fashion. All right, anything else for Samantha before I ask for a motion to close the floor, or anything from you, Samantha, that you wanted to share that we haven't touched on? Okay, may I have a motion to close the floor, please?
Motion moved.
From Alex?
From Kent.
Oh, from Kent?
Alex, second.
All right. All in
Thank
favor?
you, Samantha.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
All right. So Laura, how do you want us to bring this home? Are you looking for us to actually vote on a proposal today? And let me just ask a hypothetical that might affect that, which is if in fact there is a request for some modification in our proposal process, are we able to vote with sort of a comment on a thought about modification to the proposal? Does that make sense?
Yeah. To answer the first one, yes, I would like you guys to select the piece so that the artist has ample time to get moving forward. I'm so sorry. Right now is the time that the street sweeper comes by. So if there's a lot of noise, what's going on? So I'll talk quickly. So yes, if we could select something today, that would be great. And then to the second point, for any modifications, what we've discussed, you can kind of gloss over. Okay, like we'd want 2 benches, knowing that they probably won't have backs, but the request would be for X amount, and then the motion would be to approve of proposal with the recommended modifications discussed in the minutes, if that made any sense.
I think it does. Beth, or did you have anything you wanted to contribute before we move toward a vote?
No, they were very strong, you know, they're very close proposals. I think I had a preference to proposal B.
Same thing here. Well, I don't think we can really lose with this one. I thought just the idea, I know we brought it up, of kind of covering something. I think that option B is kind of more high octane kind of thing to find in the middle of that Century Grove. I just wanted to also say, I know that idea was brought up of putting the stumps kind of throughout. I think we had some ADA considerations with some other things, and I think that would kind of kill that endeavor if we were to put all the seating actually inside of the Grove. So I don't know if that would work out, but yeah, I think just overall artistically, option B, there's just more consideration and more use of materials. So I think it's a stronger option of the two.
Yeah, just to clarify on that, what I was intending would be the benches would be installed as suggested, so they would be ADA, but then we could, on top of that, make more scattered throughout the Grove, but those would not be ADA accessible. So yeah, there's a trade-off there.
Commissioners, any other thoughts or questions before I call for a vote? With Kent abstaining.
Oh, Kelly, is the other artist here by chance? I'm not able to see all the pictures there.
I don't think so. I'm looking in the participants list.
Okay.
I'm not mistaken, am I, Laura?
Doesn't sound like it.
No. Any other conversation or questions before we move to a vote? All right, then can I ask for a motion to vote, and maybe just the way conversation has gone, we go straight to voting for acceptance of proposal B. We could do straw man votes on how many A, how many B before we take the formal vote. Any thoughts?
I'm comfortable moving forward with B.
All right, let's have a motion then.
I'd make that motion to have 2 benches with concept B, the backless option.
That's Matt, thank
This is
you.
Alex. I second that motion.
Thank you, Alex. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And none opposed, any abstaining? A 1 abstention from Kent. All right, Laura, then for the record, we'll just make a note that there is a slight variation from the proposal as it was received per the recommendation of the commission.
And are we going to get sort of like a future update, Samantha? I can't talk to you. You're not there. But I'm just curious, as the project goes along, we get to see how cool it's happening, you know?
I can definitely update you guys in my project updates. As I get photos and new information coming in from Samantha, I will definitely keep y'all in the loop.
All right, moving on from regular business, informational chairperson's report and project updates. I did have one item this week that I didn't share with Laura ahead of times. It's really just that I was going to share a resource that I encountered this past week. One resource is through NeighborWorks, so I'm sure there are people who work at the city that are very familiar with it, but it is the resource that they use in training artists and creative placemakers about how to link creativity in the arts. What I thought was useful for us as a commission is I think you actually get a sense of maybe more of the jargon and sometimes the considerations of other people that are collaborating on public art and creative placemaking endeavors, kind of building a shared vocabulary. The other resources I was going to send out is a sample that came up. I was recently on a 8-hour call about creative placemaking, which is why this came up. But it was really about creative placemaking with an equity lens. And this was developed by Montgomery County, just outside of DC in Maryland. And they have a document that they call a roadmap to public art. And it includes a lot of really, I think, specific and helpful steps and language to thinking about community buy-in for public art and how to move notions of placemaking into placekeeping, respecting the residents of a community. Just going to send those 2 links out. I don't have any specific intentions about what we would do with that at this point. We've off and on talked about potentially having some kind of plan document, and I think that these would be useful resources. So that's all I have.
And if I can, Kelly, I went to a meeting with the Oneida Nation, and they have that kind of concept as well.
Yeah, we were there together.
Oh, yes, right. So
we sat next to each other, friend.
Yeah. Well, so I guess they're another potential resource.
Yeah, they've had some ongoing work on the reservation as they think through some things that they would like the tribe to consider. Right. Coordinators report and updates. Ms. Laura?
Updates for projects. So you guys decided on this one, so we can definitely move forward because of that kind of November deadline that we have quickly approaching. The Adams Street lot art installation, the Salva Jelly Bloom sculpture that you guys actually selected last meeting, that is part of that November deadline also. Brandon and I are working on setting up a meeting date, hopefully sometime next week or probably the week after, to go out to that site. We already had Diggers Hotline review it, and there doesn't appear to be anything underneath, so that should help with not having any restrictions on the footing placement for that piece. So that's moving forward. We finished our voter awareness mural at 230 North Monroe. It was kind of a very quick project that occurred, but we did a community painting event on this not abandoned garage, but it's not being utilized. It's going to be a building that is eventually torn down for development. But in the meantime, it serves as a voter awareness mural, and actually Wisconsin and Wisconsin League of Women Voters, they are hosting kind of a booth every Saturday, I think until September. My information is very shaky on this, but they are at that location on Saturdays from noon to 4 to assist with anyone who needs to sign up for registering to vote, or they provide information for polling locations and all of that good stuff. So if vote, people need to vote. That will help people. And then yesterday, we assisted some members of SAGE, a local nonprofit arts group, in installing some artwork within the police department. The police department and also City Hall will be taking part in SAGE's kind of citywide gallery exhibit, Unity and Diversity. They are placing local artists' art within businesses throughout the city. So we'll be coming out with a map for that soon. And then also, today is Matt Buchanan's last meeting with us. I want to thank you very much for all of the service that you have provided to us and the very many helpful comments and thoughts that you have provided here. And I'm definitely still going to pick your brain even when you're not on the commission.
I hope so. No, I thank you, Laura, and I think everyone else on this commission. It's been a ball. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the opportunity to contribute. I wish you all the best. I'm looking forward to helping in other ways and stepping aside and letting somebody else serve. So thank you all.
Thanks, Matt.
You're not leaving the city, right?
No, I'm staying put. I'm working for the city still. Nope, not going anywhere.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes, thank you, Matt. All right, if that's it from Laura, a reminder, our next meeting is September 23rd. We'll see you all then. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Matt.
From our departing Matt.
All right. I second Alex.
And Alex, the second, who's staying? All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Okay, peace out, you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.